I don't know. I don't know.
Hey,
That's probably it. Yeah,
hey, gal. Arizona, I was looking for you. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at Mass Effect, the board game, Priority, Hagalaz. This one is a campaign game, a cooperative game, in which you are going to be going through between 3 and 5 scenarios, working together to accomplish various goals set forth by the game. There's a few different ways in which you can accomplish those things. Mainly, you can go a Paragon way. If you know the video games, you know that's kind of like being good. Or you can go Renegade. Those are easier. The reward isn't as powerful. Let's go ahead and jump into a quick overview. I'm not diving into every rule here, but I'm going to show you enough, hopefully, so you understand structure of the game, and you understand kind of turn by turn what's going to be happening. And we're going to come on back after that and give you some thoughts. In this game, the players are going to be going through a campaign. You begin by selecting one of these 3 missions. You read some story text, and then you play that mission. You might get a Renegade or a Paragon win. You might get a loss. You're going to get some amount of war readiness, and then you move on from there. So if I pick this one, we do that. Let's say we won Paragon, and then we go to here, and we may play a loyalty mission. And you can see I'm writing right on this because it's you can dry erase it. And then if we choose to do a loyalty mission, that means we pick one of our companions here and we do their loyalty mission. Maybe we do Rex's loyalty mission. We will read an entry listed right there. In the narrative book over here, we go on a mission. I'll show you what a mission looks like in 1 second. Once we've done that, if we chose to do it, then we go either to the Atlas binary mission or encircled, as you can see the paths here. So maybe we do that, and we do that one. We'll play that. Again, it's a win or a loss. Another loyalty this way or this way, and then a final mission, and that's your campaign right there. So you can play up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missions in a campaign. You are going to be, like I said, leveling up the war readiness. This is basically your final score at the end of the game. The better you do on this, the better you did in the whole campaign. You're also gathering intel right here, which lets you level up your people. So I keep talking about these missions. What am I talking about? Well, you're going to be using this mission book to go on these missions. And the idea is that you flip these over. There is some mission setup right here. So mission 1A through the breach tells you some flavor text, tells you what enemies you're using, tells you what you need to do, what is required for a Paragon success. And it's a little bit more difficult to do that because you get a better reward. You can go Renegade. It's a little bit easier to do that. Something else you can do is kind of a side mission. The enemies that are elite, they show you down here. Mission failure, of course, and then the map. So you leave this face up like this. When you are playing on this map here, you're going to have various bad guys, which are tokens. I'll show you those in 1 second. And you'll have some turrets. You have places where we begin. You have some places where you can get some loot, these crates here. And then, of course, you're trying to achieve something, okay? So that's how the mission's going to play out, and that's what this book is all about. I'm not going to show you anything past the first one to preserve that surprise, that element of surprise. And then the characters are these, which are also dry erase sheets. Somebody has to be Shepherd. You can play male or female Shepherd here, just like in the video game, and somebody will be this character. But there's always 4 characters, no matter how many people are playing. And you can have these other ones that can be part of your group. So again, of these 4, you'll pick 3 plus Shepherd, and they are the ones that can go on your mission. You can switch who goes with you between missions, but then you'll lose some leveling up between that. So you really kind of want to pick a party of 3 plus you, Shepherd, and go through the entire campaign. The idea being if you have 4 players at the table, everybody can run their own character. If you don't, then you need to split these up however you want to. If you have 2 players, each of you will run 2 of these characters, all right? So that's the idea. These characters are all going to have some basic information, some things that begin unlocked, and some things that you need to unlock by marking off these locations as you gain the experience up here. We'll take a closer look at this in just 1 second when I show you what a round generally looks like. So let's check that out. So here we've got a mission set up with all the tokens that are necessary, including our starting positions for our characters, represented by miniatures here. And then we've got some baddies that we pulled from a bag to set up the game. We'll spawn some more from here during the game. We've got a couple of elite baddies here and that one. Some turrets that are going to be shooting possibly. Some loot we can pick up. Various things. We've got some flavor text up there, like I said. And then our objectives. So the general flow of a mission here is going to be this right here on the back of the narrative book. You've got a little flow chart. Okay, so the first thing is a strategy roll, then actions, and then a hazard card. Every player does this in order, okay? Starting from the player that has this token, and it begins with Shepherd. So we'll do all that, and these are your possible actions. So let me show you what that looks like, okay? There's these dice right here, and we're going to, on your turn, you're going to roll all of these. That's your strategy roll. So we do that. And then I may, or I have to, I should say, assign 3 of these dice to my board here. But before I do that, all the stars that I rolled are going to affect some innate ability of mine. So, for example, for Shepherd over here, he is, for each of these stars, if I rolled any, I'm going to flip a token that goes on here, right here. I flip it to the other side, and that gives me a command. If I rolled 3 or more, I flip 2 blank ones to commands. And those commands are going to let me make other people's dice rolls better. That's basically what that does, okay? Having done that, I re-roll the stars until they're no longer stars. So now I have some dice here to play with. I'm going to be taking 3 of these dice, locking them onto my various actions, and using the abilities. And then the pool of dice will pass to the next player unaffected, even though they will re-roll it because they may save 1 from a previous roll. So if I put arrows up here on move, I can move. And so this is me. I could go 1, 2, for example, with 2 arrows, 3 with 3 arrows, and so on. Mission is something that the game tells you can do. In this case, we are picking up these things right here, putting them over here, trying to disrupt some transceiver and mess up some data, right? So that's what we are doing. Revive here lets you revive another character if you are with them. Besides that, I begin with a couple of abilities that are unlocked down here. I can hack and I can shoot, okay? I can do this twice, I can do this twice. The second one takes a special die. These are sort of your activation phase. This is usually better than that. It's an activation with something on top of it. So for example, if we're looking at, let me remove my cubes here. If we look at shoot, for me it says, if I put a die on here like that, it says that I can deal 1 damage to an enemy in Shepherd's line of fire. Line of fires would be the 6 straight faces that leave from your active hex. They cannot cross these purple lines though. However, if I put a special die on there, if it's this one instead, then it says it deals 2 damage. All right, and not to deal damage to these guys, I would put these tokens on them. They have a certain number of shields. That is how many of these they can take. Now, these other things are locked right now, and as I hit baddies and take them out, I'm going to mark these locations, these spots on my experience track. So if I knock somebody out, I'm going to mark the first one. If I do it again, and then if I do it a 3rd time, I can unlock one of these abilities. So maybe I will unlock my barrier ability that says after completing a move, I regain a shield. That's a passive ability. So that's the way that one works. I begin, by the way, everybody, with some health and some shields. You go through the shields first as you take hits, and then the shields replenish at the end of a round. The health obviously does not. So it's okay if the shield goes, not the health. All right. So that's how that works. Once I've done that, moved, I shot, and I moved again. I did this. Once I'm done, then these dice are going to go to the next player. But before I do that, we do that 3rd step, which is the hazard card. So strategy roll, actions, hazard card. Everybody's dealt one of these before we even start rolling the dice. And after you've taken your 3, You flip this over and deal with that. And this is how the baddies are going to do their stuff. In this case, activate each garden and engineer. So every garden, every engineer out here, these people, are going to try to attack me generally, if not move or attack somebody else. They have their own sort of programmed order of operations that they will follow. So you do this, discard the card when you are done. Sometimes these will spawn more people, so you'll grab the bag and put out new ones. And then this goes to the next player. The next player is going to take all the dice. They may save one. So let's say they want 3 movements. They re-roll the rest one time. They rolled any stars. They do whatever the special thing is for the stars. In the case of Garrus here, his aim will go up. He has a token here that moves up as he gets better aim, and he can cash that in later on for a boost, okay? He gets that, re-rolls it. If he gets stars again, he keeps doing it, by the way. And then he'll use 3 of these. So again, on something, he will lock 3 of these dice. Next player, and then he does a Cerberus card, right? So some bad stuff will happen. Next player will do it, and then the last player gets the last 3. Once that's all done, then we are going to basically start a new round, gathering up all the dice and doing it again. You begin very weak with just a couple of basic abilities, but of course, as you can see, you're going to be unlocking some new things. When you collect goodies out here on these, sometimes there'll be special abilities. You have a gel that can heal somebody, that sort of thing. But if you get these data pads like this one, you're going to be collecting some experience on the main campaign board. So on this, you're going to be marking this up here on the intel, and this lets anyone level up one thing. So unlock something. Like, you know, if I could unlock Adrenaline Rush, for example, or anybody else can unlock something. The missions are going to end in one of several ways. We could lose. We have a mission failure here. It tells you if Shepard is down, the mission fails. Read this paragraph in the storybook. If each time the escalation cards are shuffled, then you mark a box. If that happens too many times, read a different paragraph in the storybook. Okay, we might win with the Paragon victory, the blue one. That's a little more difficult, but if we do that, then we're going to get an extra die for every mission from here on out. So the pool of dice basically has an extra die in it. Very good. If we go with the Renegade victory, that's a little bit easier, but we don't get the blue die. Instead, each of us gets a Renegade token that lets you re-roll the dice one time. So it's a little bit weaker. It's not as it's not as big of a boon, but it is easier to do, and you'll be able to count that as a win. All right. You'll be reading something again anyway once you finish these things, and then you move on to the next story, which could be a loyalty mission to try to unlock a special ability on one of your companions here, or just the next mission in the campaign. So a loyalty mission, taking a look at Rex here, would unlock this ability for him. If you complete his loyalty mission, you'll get this. And obviously you only do 2 loyalty missions at most, so you cannot unlock the special loyalty ability for everybody. You'll be able to do it for 2 of them at best. And then he's got some other things you can unlock. You'll notice this one here is required to unlock this one here, and it shows you in the red outline and sort of a little symbol right there. He has a special rage track that levels up, and then he can spend that for one big hit to everyone around him on the map. There's a few other features on the map. There's a whole other deck of cards. If the baddies are not Cerberus, but instead they are Reapers, you would use different tokens and a different deck of cards. And this is all based, again, on what the mission is asking for and what you choose to do. So that's a general flow of the mechanics of the game and sort of what everybody is doing together. And you're moving through the campaign as a unit. So there you go. Hopefully that gives you enough that you understand what is happening in this game. Let's go ahead and go back up top.
This is a game that was not on my radar, like, whatsoever before it kind of came through. It showed up in the office. I was like, oh, I like this video game, and that was it. I knew nothing about it. I hadn't heard of it. I like Modifias. I do like the company. They've done some really neat stuff in the past. but I didn't know quite what to expect. And I believe you guys aren't familiar with the intellectual property here, right? The video game.
I'm not at all. No, I've never even heard of the video game, and this was definitely a surprise drop, because there's other video games I haven't heard of, but I hear about the board game and then look into it. No, this just showed up. I was like, oh, what's this? And I think until I played it before, but it wasn't until I actually started looking at the game that I even found out it was also a video game. So I was quite ignorant going into this, is what I'm trying to summarize.
I know there's 3 of them.
There's 4.
I know that there's 4 of them, and that's what
Which
I know.
one is Hagalaz?
None.
There's like a prequel story, I think you said.
This is in the middle of. This is somewhere during 3.
I know nothing about it.
Okay.
This is what they.
Great. So to answer your question, no.
Yeah.
We did not know.
But anyway, yes. So I know the video games. I do like the video games, and I think there will be some correlation there. Where if you like the video games, I think you might like this board game a little bit more. There's going to be some appreciation there for what this game is doing. Let's kick it off with some positive things. I'm going to jump in and say that I love that this is a campaign that takes between 3 and 5 sessions, and then the campaign is over.
And that in that 3 to 5 sessions, you have a little bit of choice on which way to go.
Yeah.
That, you can just go through the 3 scenarios you need to do, or you can put those, they're not called side quest, personal missions.
Loyalty
missions, something like that. You can add those in for each of the different characters or none of the characters. Or, you have some choice in which way you take that specific campaign you're playing through.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd say is that because it's 3 or 5 scenarios, if you're like, well, I want to play, once you start one path, you are a little bit limited in which ways you can fork and branch out.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I just want to play that level 2 one over there, you can really easily fudge. Everyone has 1 level up. And we have an extra die.
Right, or 3 out of 4 of us, something like that.
Yeah.
You can kind of fudge it.
You can functionally jump to any scenario and just play it.
Right.
Yeah. You soup yourself up a little bit and you're good to go. But I do like that that replayability, because of the fact that you can't play every mission in one run through of the game, is there. You will not see most of the missions. So you can then just, next time you feel like playing, jump in at a different point, see a different branch.
Right.
So I do like that. I also love, and this is actually my favorite part of this game, I'm going to come out and say it, I love leveling up in the middle of the fight.
Yes, I agree.
That is fantastic. Yeah. I love that idea. It's not after this mission and before the next one, you get 4 XP to assign to whatever you want. No.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the game, if I killed enough dudes, I unlock something right now, and I'm more powerful in the middle of the play session. I thought that was great.
And it also plays into it being a short campaign because you have that immediate benefit. It's not like, oh, cool, for the next one, but now I'm 2/3 the way done with the entire campaign, so I'm barely going to see this ability. So it means if you unlock it, unless you unlock it in the last turn of the last scenario, then you're going to get to the maximum play of that level up. You know, so those two things tie together really well and complement each other.
I don't know if it's my favorite part or just the fact that it's that map book. I really love games that use the map book. Here's your level. Here's your dungeon that you're going to be crawling through, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I like that. And the story is written the objectives are written on the left side. It's easy to have all the information right there. Each setting, each scenario is fairly simple, but all the information is there. It's not overly complicated. Neither, I think, I think there is a bit of setup going on, but that definitely helps facilitate the setup. And it fits the length of each scenario.
Right.
I agree. It's good to have all the information there, your map there. You don't have to put together tiles.
And also, speaking of that book, kudos for going dry erase on that as well, not just on your player mat. Because, as you are completing objectives, you're marking them off, or as you're tracking your progress towards an objective. We have to kill 8 baddies. I don't know what they're thematically called here, but baddies. You're going through and you're marking them off, and then you see that, and it directs you directly to the paragraph to read. It's not additional tokens. It's not any of that stuff that can junk up these games sometimes.
Yeah.
It's right there, dry erase, and when you're done, you wipe it and you move on.
Yeah. Speaking of that book it directs you to, I like that too. I thought it was less so, but it's nice to have a book of kind of flavor. It's like, you finish this one thing, go read paragraph 81. You're like, all right, yay, way to go, Commander. Good on you. And then you that's it. They're like, now you may do this. They're not always like, the writing's fine, and they're not always like they're not revelations that you're necessarily reading in there. But I like that it's a nice touchstone, cutscene, whatever.
I was going to say, it feels like a cutscene or that background chatter you'll hear in some video games.
Right.
You know, that just kind of lend into that flavor, lend into that experience, but also take very little mental overload. Oh, cool, read this. Great, jump back in.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was well done.
Enemy tokens, I think, are fairly simple to read. They have like 2 stats on them.
Yeah.
Shield. Actually, one of my other favorite mechanisms in this game is just shields, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shield damage versus health damage done very cleanly.
Yeah.
Once you reduce to shield, you start taking actual like hits to your personage, but then your shields recharge at the end of the round, and the enemies behave in the same way. I like that they made that decision equal for both parties.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the other thing, the main thing I would say, sort of the engine underneath this whole game is that dice system. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think of that dice system.
I really liked it. I found myself liking it the more and more I played. I like that the turn order goes reverse. You know, instead of all the way to the left, it goes to the right. So on this turn, if you have the fewest dice pool, the next one you have the most.
Yes.
You know, and I think that lends to a good balance. And it is interesting that you can save back one of those dice. And there's a lot of times that I chose not to because it's like, nope, I want to go for those stars. I really want to power something up. Or, no, I have to have a move. Can I please have that move? So sometimes it leads to really good cooperative discussions as well. You know, so I found it to be really interesting as well as a good balance on your actual player sheet, what symbols you're looking for. It's very few symbols. Your player sheet and your powers are all going to need this one symbol. There's move, and then you need the special power up, you know, on some of them. And I love how clean that is as well. It's probably a high chance you're going to get what you need, but maybe not all of it. And so it also leads to a good tension.
Yeah.
I think that as the main driver of the actions, it's okay. I don't know. It hasn't grown on me the way that because I think we both kind of felt similar about it at first, and it sounds like you've grown to appreciate it more. And I still kind of feel like it's okay. You might have the whole handful of dice because you're the first player in that round. Roll no stars. I mean, well, okay. It looks like I'll be you kind of feel like you're playing less if you don't get as many of those stars to charge up your special ability.
Right.
And then someone who gets 6 dice might get a bunch of stars. Like, well, that'll happen. It's dice. And that's okay. But I don't necessarily... It's not as exciting for me as I feel like it should be.
Okay.
I think I'm a little closer to you, Chris, than what you're saying. I definitely would love a little more mitigation. They already have those dice that have split, you know, which is nice, split to move and action. Mm-hmm. I would love for maybe one of the symbols is when you allocate this die, you may change another one or something. I would love for it to have a little more. You do have those moments, and they suck. I'm rolling 12, 13 dice, and it's possible you get no stars. Yeah. You're like, I really needed this guy to get angry, or I really needed this you know, guy to aim with his rifle or whatever. What can you do about nothing? You can do nothing about that.
I guess for me, that didn't happen enough for it to bring it down. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe once per play session, and it's just kind of like, to me, that's just part of the dice, you know? So I don't think it doesn't sound like it didn't bother me as much, you know? But yeah, it is very lucky in dice.
All right, a couple of things I want to jump into here that are negatives in my opinion. That is, we're going to start with the rule book. I thought the rule book is, every rule is in there. Every rule is not particularly easy to find.
It is one of the worst laid out rule books I have encountered ever. I actively despise the rule book. I actively despise the lack of index in here, so you can't find anything. There are some rules that are only explained to you in the setup, so they're not even in the book, like how to play section. Like I have so many gripes. I mean, I could spend 30 minutes alone.
There's columns on the side sometimes.
So much wasted space.
Yeah, it's a spacious book. They are free with their space. There are pages that don't have a lot of information, some that have a lot, and that's good. I don't mind a book a book that is not like sort of chunks of text.
Right.
The problem's finding it in a 42-page book.
Yeah.
What does elevated terrain mean? I should be able to go to an index, look for terrain, elevated, page 31, got it.
Right.
That. Come on, you need that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The back of the rulebook is almost really good. They have all the icons, almost all the icons.
Most of them, yeah.
And then they have what every one of them is.
Yeah.
And right there is the perfect place, page 17.
Exactly. That is
Agreed.
exactly what I decided in playing it. It's like right there. You're 9/10 of the way there. It's right there. No, instead I had to go look in the actual rule book, and I spent 30 minutes looking for it, only to find out it's step 4 of the setup. Are you kidding me? I'm ready to throw the game away at that point because I've already done setup. That's the only time. Oh, sorry. I feel really passionately about this. Like, I was so angry about this rule book because you should know better at this point. Mm-hmm. And especially if this is something that is going to try to hit a market outside of board gamers, like, you completely missed the mark here.
Where's your introductory mission that eases you into the game? Where's that one that's sort of, where's my player aid? Where's my personal player aid?
Yeah, you go into a video game and you can go up to that little tab at the top, the controls, and look at what buttons do what. You know, you can look into keywords. You can do that in a video game. You have this available. You know what they need. You just don't give it to us. You completely drop the ball there. I was so angry about how hard it is to approach a game that, and we'll get this in final thoughts, that I really, really enjoy the gameplay of this.
Right.
But we're talking like multiple points difference in my score because of the rule book, and the rule book should not be such a barrier to play. I should not be through 2-3 play sessions and still have questions and just be so tired of looking stuff up because I can't find it. They're very basic questions, you know. And I feel strongly.
Yeah, when you get to the point and you had this experience where you're like, I can make a choice here where we have to look up a symbol, or I can make this other choice where I don't. I'll do that.
Yep.
That's
what I mean.
When it affects gameplay, when it affects the flow, like we were just playing, the two of us, and we had a couple of really good things going, and then we had to kind of pause because we realized, all right, well
these tentacles have an X where the shield is. The rulebook says when you reduce, they take hits the same way as the minions. Then you look up the rule for the minions. The minions rule says when the number is reduced to 0, the minions perish. I'm like, X isn't a number. How do I reduce it to 0? Does it mean something? Does it mean no shield? Does it mean 1? Is it adjusted by how many bad guys are around it? I have no idea.
Right. And
I can't find it.
And you've already gone through 2 different sections of the rule book to get to that non-answer.
Right. And it's now broken the flow of what is a fun scenario.
Right.
Kind of going at it. We got the rules down, right? We've played this a few times. We got it down, except for this thing, which then just made like a 7-minute break in the middle of our otherwise exciting game.
And I don't mind that in an introductory and a learn to play game. I don't mind that once or twice. But like you said, you're in the second scenario, in the third scenario, and I'm still taking 7 to 10 minute breaks?
Yeah.
Come on. You have failed the players.
Especially, again, if you want to make this a game that will appeal to non-board gaming video gamers.
Absolutely.
They're happy to get into complex things. This is a complex video game. But everything's in there, and the video game won't let me make a mistake. I can't. It's programmed to not let me.
Right.
In here, I can.
You need a little more hand-holding for that reason.
Right. A couple other things. I will say that the board, I think, is a little visually cramped once you have the minis and the baddies on there. I wish that the maps were bigger. I understand you can't make it then into a foldable, ring-binded thing and put it in here, but it feels a little cramped. It feels like a little, everybody's sort of stumbling over everybody else.
It always functions because you can't share a hex. Well, most of the time. There's, the little drone can share a hex, something like that. But for the most part, you can't share a hex, so it's okay. But it makes it tight if you're all going, there's one scenario specifically where everyone's attacking this one bad guy, the big elite, and so everyone's standing around. It's like, okay, well, I'm in that hex. We all just know because it's the next one adjacent to him. But you're only half in that hex because it's a little big or crowded. So it's like...
I'm covering the turret. There's a turret under my guy. You can tell because the plastic miniature is kind of standing like
Right,
this.
exactly. And so it wouldn't be, maybe just like 10% or even 5% larger. Just a little bit of breathing room.
You could shrink the miniatures a little bit. On the busier maps, it's hard to tell. I forgot I was standing at the bottom of elevated terrain.
Yeah, I'm on a ladder. You just can't see it because it's underneath the miniature. Yeah.
Yes, those things.
Yeah. I also thought the
The movement rules for the baddies were a little tricky. And we ran into that problem a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We ran into that problem a little bit. Having that, like, sort of, if they can hit, they hit. If the guys can shoot, they shoot. Who? The weakest. Okay, cool. If they can, then what? They move to hit whoever they can. First you, though, if it's your turn. Then anybody they can.
Right.
What about elevation and terrain? Do they follow normal, like, go find the ladder rule? Do I count the ladder path? Or just as the crow flies? You know, there's a lot of bits there.
It could, the priority could have been clearer.
Could have been a little easier.
Or maybe streamlined or clearer, one of the two. Either give me like a priority as a player aid.
Player aid.
Or, player aid. Or just streamline it so they all function the same way.
A couple more examples would have helped. Visually show me, like, this guy walks here because of this, because of this. Oh, okay. And then lastly, I did think that the scenarios were a little long. You know, I thought that...
Oh, interesting.
You're only playing... Again, at most 5. I thought 15 minutes before they're over, I'm like, I'm ready for this to be over because I know the next 15 minutes are just like wail on this one guy or stand here and push this button on this console.
Okay.
That's fair, right? And,
Yeah.
and
I mean-
if you're standing on the console, you have to spend one of your actions to move off of it so the next person can come onto it and push the button.
Yeah.
Like, that felt a little silly. I feel like the overall time to play each scenario feels good when you don't have those breaks to look in the rulebook.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like they're about the right length, but something about them feels a little bit, I don't want to say lackluster, but kind of the ending is not always a bang.
Maybe my issue is repetition for the game length. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not that they're long. They are a little long, but the problem is by the time I'm ready for it to be over after we've passed around the dice and I've chucked a handful and I've passed and chucked.
Yeah.
Like, I only want to play that Yahtzee-esque part of it so long. I'm like, I got it. I'm just going to stand here and shoot that guy till he's dead or walk over there and press that thing. So I'm like kind of ready for it to be done.
I think I'm probably more aligned with Chris on this, where it's like, I don't think they overstay their welcome. I like the length. I don't mind that last minute, because the last minute, where is the repetition? Okay, cool. We have 3 turns left. I can see because I can do this much damage each round, whatever. That's 10 minutes at most, you know, so it doesn't quite pass into that too long. But it feels too long because by the time I got there, I'd been in the rule book, which I won't bring up again. I promise, my last time. No. By that time, I've already doubled the length of the game.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into my final thoughts here first. I feel like I've complained about a lot of things. I wrote down negatives, but there's a lot of positives too. I'm actually coming down to a 7 on this one. I enjoy the gameplay here. I have a soft spot for the theme. I really do like the theme, and I think it's going to help if you know it. And I love that this attempts to make a campaign accessible to people that don't want your 80 hours of gameplay in a box, game. I'm happy to play over a weekend and finish and put it away and play again in 3 months. That's fine. It's okay for campaigns to reach their conclusion. It's okay for these things to end. I do like the simplicity of gameplay. I love the leveling up the characters. I love how different they feel. They really do feel very different. I love that you're not using everybody in every game. There's one companion you have to not use. You can cycle them in and out if you wanted to. You shouldn't do that, so you can level up the ones you're playing with. But I love that. I love that you might not have Rex in your whole campaign. Leave him out. You play with the other 4. Yeah, there's a lot here that is interesting, and a lot of it that is almost there. There's a lot of it that people will fix online. People will put out player aids online. People will, explain things to you online. But that's not in the box here. I don't count that stuff. So for me, I'm giving this one a 7. I do enjoy it. I like it. I'm happy to play more of it. Now that I know most of the rules, it's that sting is eased a little bit. But I don't feel like going higher than that would be true to what I think of it. So I recommend it to fans of the game. And if you're a big if you're a big American-style board gamer, then I recommend it to you a little less, actually, because I think you're going to find it Yahtzee-esque.
Interesting. Oh, go ahead.
My score is also exactly a 7. And this is something that Tom sometimes says, where he's like, this is about as low as 7, like it's the same number, but I do have those reservations.
Yeah.
You've heard those reservations. But there are also those things that make me say, yeah, I would play this again. Yeah, I kind of want to, let's try a different story path. Let's see what the different options are. And I like the small amounts of flavor that you read in there, which some of them, I think the best story parts are the objectives that you have during the game. They give some nice flavor. Sometimes you're grabbing objective tokens that represent multiple different things.
Sure.
But that little bit of like, I rescued some people who were stowaways in the ship. That does make me feel better about myself. I like that easy or hard victory path, the renegade or the what was the term again?
What is it?
Paragon.
Paragon, yeah. Paragon or Renegade, yeah.
I like that, right? Once again, kind of more built-in variability, and that's all done very cleanly. I have my complaints about the size of the book, but I do like that as soon as you fold open, your scenario is ready to go. Get the enemy tokens. That's the most of the setup. I think that this does enough things right that I have fun with it, and that I think a very direct comparison to this is going to be the Mandalorian Adventures.
100%.
I'm not here to directly compare the two necessarily, but I think that people will look at this and say, oh, this has a lot of the same notes, but they do play very differently in terms of what drives it. But I found that there were fewer of those things that I had those hiccups about in that game. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, I still would like to play this one some more.
Yeah.
So, 7 from me.
I'm coming a little bit higher, and my score makes me really angry. Because I'm like, I want to go so much higher, but also, like, I'm so mad still after multiple plays of this. I'm coming in at a 7.5. But that's, again, it is taking a huge, huge dip in score here for me because of the, I think, close to inaccessibility of with the rulebook.
Right. Okay.
Just the huge obstacle here. I really enjoy the gameplay. I don't find it as repetitive as you guys are speaking of. I see that argument. I don't feel that necessarily. I really enjoy the cooperation of, okay, this is when that first person that rolls, that's not everyone's, but I guess the next person's potential pool as well, because they get to save one. So I feel like every time you roll, there's a little bit of conversation and there's a little bit of tag team of who can do what. I really enjoy the cooperative nature of this. I don't care for the video game, and by that I mean I don't know the video game, so it's not negative. It's just like, but I love games where thematically they can make me care about something, whether it's about a theme or a historical event or a video game that I didn't know about. It really sells me on this world. I remember when the first time I played it was the live play, and I remember in the chat they were talking about the character I was playing. It's like, oh man, she's great at technology. I didn't pick that up from reading it, but they told me that, and then from there, that's all I can see, and I really was able to play into that. I respect the ties to the video games, and that really enriches this as well. So I think the game can reach those that don't play the video game, and it can reach those that love the video game. I think the gameplay is extremely simple. It's very rich, and it just can potentially lead to such a great experience. But it's had to go through so many gameplays to feel confident in the rules enough. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I said, it takes probably at least a point. This could even push up to like a 9 for me if I was not so mad about the rule book and that I'm still not confident I could play without having to look up something.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a 7.5, and that is I enjoy the game much higher than a 7.5, and I'm much lower or much more angry to bring it down to way lower. Like my anger is probably like a 3, a 4. Like I'm fiery
it's
about
an anger
it.
Scale.
It's an anger scale, and I'm leaning towards the fun side. So 7.5 for me.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Mass Effect, the board game Priority Hagalaz. Thank you very much for tuning and checking this one out with us. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Give in to your rage, your angry scale.
Can I?
Rex.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.